Hi friends, let's see the app we are going to develop in the next couple of lessons. When you run this app, this is the main option screen. You will see a menu which is on a table view. So I can click on say employee options, then it will load this data, and all the employee data are loaded dynamically from a data source, right? And then I can click on employee, and then it's dynamically changing this page with that particular employee and the projects. If I go back and click another employee, you can see the same page is dynamically changing with that employee and the projects, which are all loaded dynamically. The images are also loaded dynamically from a data source, right? So it's different images loaded dynamically. And then I can delete employees. Let's say I can swipe and say delete, then it deletes the data, right? If not, I can click on edit and say if I want to delete something, click on this and click delete, right? And when I'm done, I can say done, right? And then further I can insert data dynamically. Let us say a section P and say Peter, for example, and click OK. So it all gets added dynamically, right? Then once I'm done with employees, I can go scroll down, right? And then I can go into department options, right? So department, and do the same thing for department, right? But it's very important that you have to make sure to look at the next couple of lectures in this on table views, that is part 1, 2, 3, etc., until we complete this app. It explains all the theory and the practical knowledge which you need to know about developing this app, right? Okay friends, we are very excited to show you how to develop this app practically, and let's do it now. Okay friends, so the following is the outcome of this part of the lesson. When you complete this part of the lesson, your app will look like this. Until you complete the other parts of the lesson, it will be able to put the employees into sections, right? So it's a list of employees loaded dynamically, right? And now you are able to categorize them into sections, right? Which is very important for you to the next part, right? But after you complete this lesson, you make sure to go and look at the next lessons in order to complete the full app demonstrated earlier. Hi friends, let's start the next lesson in this series. Table views, dynamic content, UITableViewController part 5. Let's see what's in the session. So tools used in this lecture, we'll be using Xcode version 11.4.1 for practicals and Apple Developer Docs for referencing. Prerequisite, you have to look at the following previous lessons on table views in Objective-C in this series. Table view static content and table view dynamic content, UITableViewController part 1 to 4. You have to look at some other previous lessons in Objective-C in this series. In this lesson, you will learn, you will continue to learn using the UITableViewController, right? And to display list of names. You continue to use the UITableView data source protocol. You will continue to understand that TableView controls already adopt these protocols. You just override the data source methods required to fill your table with the data, and you will be overriding some new methods in this lesson. You'll continue to use the UITableViewCell, continue to configure the UITableViewCell, adding images, which you already did. We are going to add further things, adding sections and adding titles for section headers and section footers using multi-dimensional NS arrays to provide the data. Lesson plan, we will be doing practical demonstrations. Okay, so let's straight away go into the practical demo. Let me keep this here, just for reference. Let's start with the practical. So let's run where the project we did previously, which is lesson which is part 4, right? So this is the outcome of the part 4, and let's continue from there. Let's look at the outcome of dynamic content UITableViewController part 4. Right, okay. So this is the outcome of the previous lecture, and let's continue from there. So we have a list of employees and some icons displayed in front, and nothing happens because we have not yet covered the event handling. The event handling will be covered after this, right? So after this lecture, we'll be starting on event handling, and you will see how to handle these click events and lots of things. So let's move forward from here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of changes, right? I'm going to add some images. We already have some images, but I'm going to add some extra images which are a little larger, So let me add the extra images. Right click, add files, right? Let's get it from the download. So let's get these images. So let me add these images. Awesome, guys. So we got the images, and let's do a couple of changes. So let's go to the UI table view data source where we override the methods. Let's look what we have to do now. So the first thing I would want to do is I would want to change the names of these into the new images. So I got general images set 4a, so I'm going to add those names, right? So let's say generally, because the new image is what I added now, right? So general images set 4a, then let me change the rest. So I have changed the names of the images to reflect the new ones which I added. Let's run this now, right? Let's see whether the new images are visible, right? So awesome, right? So these are the new images which I added, right? And so it replaced the previous ones, right? Next thing I'm going to do is couple of changes. I would like to change the style of the cell. So what I would do is I would go to the storyboard and then I will select the certain changes you will do from the storyboard as well, like I'm doing now. So I will select the let's go to the property palette. I will select the table view cell, and the style I will just probably go for something like subtitle, right? You will see it's different styles, right? So just change it to subtitle so you can see that this is how the text will come now. Text will appear. Let's run this now. So I change the style of the table view cells as well, right? It should appear, and awesome, right? So it gives us. Now let's do a few more things, right? Okay, now the next thing what I would like to do is I would like to have some sections, something like this, right? So let's say I want to categorize my employee names based on the first character, right? Based on the first character in the alphabet, right? So all the names starting with A I want to put into one section, then all the names starting with say B into one, same, right? So let's do this now, right? Okay. So how do I add sections? So the first thing I'm going to do is to have some sample data to reflect that, right? So the names of employees, let's reflect that, right? Let's give some names, say Anne, let's say another name Ashley, right? I'm giving some names, then let's say Frank, and let's say Fishers, right? Some names, guys, right? Let's say Folly, right? Okay, just so that you understand that I'm giving some names. So let me fill some names, right? Awesome. So I got a couple of names, few names starting with A, few names starting with F, and couple of names starting with G, right? So this is what I want. So I want to categorize the names under A and section F and section G, right? Awesome. So what's next, guys? Let's see what's next. So if you look at this, how many sections are here? So it's like 3 sections, right? A, F, and G. In that case, the number of sections, right, in this table view data source delegate, sorry, in the table view data source method, the data source methods, right, this number of sections in table view, you should return, because I have 3 sections, let's say I return as 3, right? I'm just showing you, right? Now let's run and see. So I should see 3 sections. Let's see what I'm going to see now, right? Okay, so I'm getting an error. Let's try to tackle what this error is. So if you read the error, it says that due to uncaught exception, NS range exception, reason, NS array object at index 5 beyond bounds. So if you look at this carefully, what's happening is, let me explain it to you. So it says we have gone beyond the array index, right? So we have used index beyond its available indexes. So actually what's happening here is, it's nothing to do with the number of sections. It is something to do here because I added how many names? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 names. But how many images do I have? Only 4, right? So what happens is, because I have 7 employee names, right? And see the number of rows, I'm returning the count of employees, which will give 7. Because of that, it's going to create 7 cells, right? 7 cells. In that case, this is where the problem is. When it access the names, that's not a problem, but when it access the icons, images, it will go up to 7 images, right? because of there will be 7 cells getting created, so the rows will go up to 7, but I don't have 7 images. That's the problem, right? That's where it gives array index out, out of range. So I have to make sure that I give 7 images, right? If I have 7 names, I have to make sure that I'm giving 7. So let me add few more images here. Okay guys, I added 7 images. Let's run this now, right? Let's run and see what's next, right? Awesome. Now you don't get that error of array index, right, which is sorted. But now what has happened, guys, right? What has happened now is actually because there are 7 names, you can see Anne, Ashley, Frank. See again, Anne, Ashley, Frank, Fishers is repeated. So it's repeating the names, right? Now this is something very important to figure out, right? Why is it repeating these names? So again, Anne, Ashley. So what's happening here is, when I say there are 3 sections, so it runs 3 sections. So the way it will populate 3 sections. But what happens is, when here what I have done is something wrong, is number of rows in section. That means I'm telling in each section how many rows. I'm telling the count of employees, that is 7, which means there will be 3 sections, and in each section there will be 7 rows. That's what is happening, right? So 7 rows, so that means 21 rows, right? So that's why it's repeating. In each section it's repeating, and then when it comes to populating each cell, right, it is for, when you populate a cell, it's getting populated for a section, that for that section the rows, right? So for example, section 1 will have 7 rows. Then again for section 2 it will populate another 7 rows again from the beginning. For section 3 it will populate another 7 rows from the beginning. So it's repeating the same names 3 times for each section. So I have to avoid that problem, right? Let's see how I avoid that problem, guys, right? Let's see how I avoid it. So if you look at say Anne, Ashley, so then again Anne starts, then again it goes, then again Anne starts, and if I just scroll down, Anne again starts. So it's so I had to stop this, right? So I had to do it programmatically. I had to be careful with this part and with this as well, right? So number of sections I have to be careful, then number of rows in each section I have to be careful. Also the self forward index path I have to be very careful. So let's see how I'm going to do it now. So if I'm going to do this dynamically, I have to change how I have arranged my data, right? So which means I'm going to put this my list of employees into the same structure, like into sections, and then each section having rows, which means I'm going to create a multi-dimensional array, right? So you will, when I do it, you will understand what I mean, right? So what I'm going to do now is, okay, I'm going to create a multi-dimensional array, right? Which means, okay, now this is my array. Then inside this array, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to create the dimensions, right? So I'm going to say at, so this is like the first row, right? Then this is the second row, okay, my friends, and this is the third row, right? So in that, right, each row I want to have this data. So I'm going to put these data items into this row, right? Then I'm going to put these data items into the next row, right? Okay, Frank should come here. So I'm going to put this here, and then George and Gibson into this, right? So this is a multi-dimensional array, right? So it has 3 rows, right? And then in each row, in this it has say 2 columns, this has say 3 columns, then the next row has 2 columns. So now I got a multi-dimensional array, so it's rows and columns, right? This is how you made it. Now the same, at the same time I prefer to do it for my array of list of employees, list of employee image icons, right? So some in the, now I don't call them as icons because now they are much larger images. So I will just call them as list of employee images as well, right? Just a quick change, guys, right? Or let's keep it like that. It's up to you. Just the name, my friends, right? Now, anyhow, this again I'm going to put into rows and columns. So let me do that now. Okay, so what I did was I again added the icons into 3 rows, and then in the first row two images, second row 3. So it's another multi-dimensional array just to hold the list of employee images, right? So I will also change the name. I prefer to call them as images now, right? Not icons, right? Because they are much larger now. Array of list of employee images. Then let me go and change this list of employee images, right? And then that's what I was referring here as well, right? List of employee images. Awesome. Now I got the multi-dimensional arrays. So now the number of rows in each section, right? Now that is the next thing I have to sort out, right? So number of rows in each section should be, it's different now, right? So if you look at this number of rows in each section, see now it's like this, guys. Now you have to understand this carefully. Now this is like, okay, it's in a multi-dimensional array, it's rows and columns. Okay, that's fine. But when it comes to the table view, these are the sections you have to understand. So this is like section A, section F, section G. That's why I have said 3 sections. In that case, in table views, each section, these are going to be the values, that means rows. So number of rows in each section, in the first section is 2 rows, this one and this one. In the second section, it's 3 rows. But again in the third section it's 2 rows. That means number of rows in section is going to be different for each section. So you are getting the section as a parameter. So how do you dynamically do this is, from the list of employee names, what you can do is you can access the section, meaning this you can pass as a parameter. So when you pass the section, say now when I say 3 sections, when it's populating the sections or populating the rows, and each section has an index of 0. So section 1, which is this, has index 0. Section 2 has index 0. Section 3 has index, I'm sorry, once again, section 1 has index 0. Section 2 has index 1. Section 3 has index 2. So this section I'm getting, for the first section it's 0. So I'm getting that first section from that list of employee names, and I'm counting how many names are there. So for the first section, which is index 0, it will count and it will find there are 2 names. So it will say there are 2 rows for that section. Then when it comes to the second section, which is index 1, when you pass that, this is the second section where index is 1. So it counts, then it finds that there are 3 rows, so it returns 3 rows. Then next section, which is section 3, but index is 2, because it's 0 based. So when you pass that section, that means list of employee names index 2, which means list of employee names, array list of employees, index 2 is this. Then you count it, then you will get the dynamic count. So this way it returns the correct number of rows for each section. I know it's a little bit difficult for you to understand, but listen to what I said couple of times. Go back and listen again and again, multiple times. Then you will understand what I'm telling, right? Maybe not at once, right? Okay, right? Now I got that sorted, right?